Any planet or house cusp that goes into the sign of Aries doesn't have a foundation or an understanding of anything concerning that planet or house cusp. The whole point of Aries is to try and to get someone up and running as fast as possible by giving them a lot of experiences concerning that house or that planet. For example, if someone has Venus in the sign of Aries, Venus will give a person many relationships, but the reason why they have so many relationships is because that they don't understand how to properly go through a relationship. And because of that, when they go through a relationship, they'll have many opportunities to do whatever it is they want to do. I prefer to look at it kind of like a shotgun approach, where you have a very scattered approach, but you don't have a centered beam like a laser beam, as far as having focus and knowing what to do and what not to do and what you're supposed to do. Aries also will give a person a lot of resources concerning that planet or house cusp. As for the second technique of this sign itself, so Aries will give that person resources concerning that planet or that house cusp. For example, if again Venus is in the sign of Aries, the person will have a very beautiful appearance, because in order to get into a relationship, person has to be very attractive to begin with. So when Venus goes into the sign of Aries, person will have very, very beautiful features in the face. The appearances of the native will be very, very beautiful themselves, and they'll be very, very charming themselves as well. But don't get it confused, because the whole point of them having Venus in the sign of Aries is because they don't know how to go through a relationship properly. Because of this, they have to build a foundation concerning Venus. And so you'll see these people having lots of relationships that can't really last because they don't fully know or understand themselves how to go through a relationship properly. So let's take Moon for an example as well. Moon deals with our emotions, our mind, our family. And when Moon goes into the sign of Aries, person has no foundation concerning their emotions. So because of that, they will be given opportunities to explore this. This is the first technique. The second technique is that because Moon goes into the sign of Aries, person will naturally have a lot of empathy themselves. They're very, very emotional. They have a lot of empathy towards their family. They'll have a pretty big family size, or if not, they'll be very active within their family. Also, because Moon represents property, person will be gaining property throughout the native's life. They will eventually, at some point, at the very least, gain at least one home, house, or property at some point. But they won't be able to understand how to take care of that property. And that's why they're being given that property, so they can learn how to manage that property in the most efficient way and care for it and nurture it. Moon is also deals with nurturing as well. So person will have to nurture their family, give nurturing to other people, take care of their home. These are all things that Moon in the sign of Aries will have to deal with, or in this first house, whether it be Moon, Venus, Saturn, Mercury, any planet in the first house or in the sign of Aries will have to go through these things. There are two techniques. There's the first technique where person doesn't have a good understanding of that planet or of that house cusp. And the second technique is that person will be given resources to understand that planet or house lore or house cusp. And the reason why is because, again, they don't have a foundation. So they have to learn that foundation by constantly being bombarded and being given experience by, again, being tested with these planets over and over again until they finally figure out how the planet works itself. And when it does, when they do have that breakthrough, then it moves into the sign of Taurus, where we learn about taking your time to explore that planet or that house cusp. But let's take the first house, Aries in the first house cusp. Person does not have a good understanding or a foundation of themselves, really. And because of that, they'll be given lots of opportunities to develop themselves. This person will at times feel like they're off in a foreign world, like an alien or something like that, because to them, a lot of things that seem common sense, they just, for some reason, it just flies over their head. Like they can't fully put their finger on it, but they can't quite grasp certain basic concepts. And as an Aries ascendant myself, I can definitely vouch for that, because even more specifically, to figure out exactly how this affects you, you have to look at your nakshatra placement. But following the third technique for this video, is whatever planet goes into, or even house cusp goes into the sign of Aries, that person will end up getting that certification pretty early on. So, for example, if you have Mercury or Jupiter in the sign of Aries, the person naturally is a fast learner. And even more so if you have this in the first house, then you'll also have directional strength, which is a good thing for both Mercury and Jupiter as well. But if you have, let's say, Saturn, which is debilitated in the sign of Aries, then you could have someone could easily end up getting a job pretty easily, and pretty early on as well too. Someone that has Sun in the sign of Aries, the person could end up rising in life pretty early on as well, gaining lots of status and fame as well. But focusing on Saturn and Sun, because Saturn is debilitated in the sign of Aries and Sun is exalted in the sign of Aries. Just because they're debilitated and exalted doesn't mean that they can't give bad and good results, because all planets have to really abide by, even the house cusp as well, but more specifically for right now, the planets themselves have to abide by the sign itself, whether that be Gemini, Cancer, Pisces, but in this case it's Aries. So with Aries, even though a person is debilitated in the sign of Aries with Saturn, person still can get jobs pretty quickly and also pretty early on. And also, person with Saturn in the sign of Aries will receive lots of resources and benefits from people that work in hospitals, in jails, in asylums, in isolated places. Even possibly homeless people as well could possibly be very beneficial to someone that has Saturn in the sign of Aries, versus someone who has an exalted Sun, which will allow them to quickly rise in life and also give them lots of opportunities to be put into a position of power. But you have to keep in mind that Sun is still in the sign of Aries, and Aries again has in itself no foundation. So when someone has even an exalted Sun in the sign of Aries, that still means that a person will be given authority, but they're given this authority because they themselves don't know how to use authority. So they're constantly being put into positions of authority so they can exert their authority and learn how they're supposed to be giving authority and respect to others as well at the same time, without misusing their power. So just to wrap up, if you want to make your own techniques using the sign of Aries, then you have to keep in mind the theme of Aries, which is that Aries has no foundation and no understanding. And you can also expand this upon the nakshatras as well. But I won't really cover that right now because that would be longer than what this video already is. So just keeping it to Aries, there are 3 techniques that I've covered already. The first one being that any planet that goes into the sign of Aries, you don't have a good understanding of that planet yet. That's why you're being bombarded with a lot of challenges and tests concerning that planet. The second technique is that a person will gain resources in relation to that planet or that house cusp. And the third technique is that any planet or house cusp that goes into the sign of Aries will end up getting those notifications early on in life. So I hope that this video helped, and if it helped at least one person, then it would have done this job for sure. But until next time, bye.